Good day to everyone, matriculants of 2024. Welcome to this session on tourism. That is the subject that we are dealing with. And we are going to do the icons, which is one of the themes of the syllabus for this year. I have divided the videos into two parts. The first part will be, and this is the one we're going to do today, where we will only do the first 7 icons. And after that, there will be a second video where we will deal with the icons 8 to 13, because you've got to know 13 icons for this year, for 2024. So welcome, and I hope you are ready for the session. And remember, you don't need to sit right through this video, because you can stop it at any time. I'm sure that you will download it onto your phone or onto some sort of a device, whether it is a laptop or a normal computer or it is your cell phone. Then you can play through VLC or any of the stuff. You know more about software than what I know. And then you can stop it at any time and then continue at another time to watch the video thoroughly through. And of course, the nicest of this is you can always come back and then look at the video again and of the videos again. Good. So I'm Mr. Felton. I'm a teacher at Gordon High School, and I'm also a marker at the end of the year. So most probably, or maybe I will mark your script, but I won't know, because I will only see a script with a number on it, not names. In any case, I don't think I will know you. But I hope that you will enjoy this video and this hour with me. Now, if we speak about learning space, it means your environment where you will sit and listen to this video, probably with your earphones plugged in. And but make sure that you do have the following with you. Number one, a pen, pencil, and a eraser. I prefer using a pen because you can erase whatever and you can make adjustments to whatever you wrote down. The second thing is, it doesn't matter that it won't help you if you have a pen and a pencil and eraser and you don't have anywhere to write in. So your workbook will do, it will suffice, and maybe you are a very serious and a student that wants to excel in the subject and get not only to pass, but to get a 7. And then you will have a revision book with you. So if not, then make up a revision book that you can use to scribble in. And then, of course, you will be issued with notes from me. Use these notes. You must have it with you when you do the lesson. Good. So how does the session work? The tutor, which is now me, will give you a brief overview of the topic. I will discuss the topic with you, but remember, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, because you had the full second term, or most of the second term, in weeks. I think it's 2 weeks that was allocated to the study of the icons. And this is only an hour. So I can't go in too much detail. But I hope that after the session, you will be more confident in doing the icons, this topic. Number 2, the learners must complete the question in the given time. What does that mean? It means that I'm going to give you some questions and I'm going to give you some time, and you must try to answer the questions in the allotted time. I've spoken to my matrics now yesterday and today, and we spoke about the September exam, and they complained 3 hours. We were tired of sitting. And don't worry, use the time fruitfully. And promise me and promise yourself, because you're not doing this for me, that you will use every second, every minute of that 3 hours that will be given to you. Take your time. Read through the paragraphs. Underline main words. You know, all these things that your teacher will tell you, please do it, because we want only the best for you. Only the best. Good. Third thing, do not wait for the answer from the tutor. That is lazy learners, man. They want to wait and just write the answer down. I'm telling you, only the book knows the answer later on, and not you anymore. You must try. We learn by making mistakes. I remember when I was a student, a learner, I had a teacher that said, it is not a sin to fall down, but it is a sin to remain lying down. You must stand up. So if you made a mistake, stand up. It is not a sin to make a mistake, but please stand up and continue. And that is how we learn. We learn through our mistakes. Please ensure that you make notes where you made mistakes. Make it right. It doesn't help if the book contains all the wrong answers. That's why I prefer the pencil. Rub out, put in the right note. Good. Now let us start. We're going to study, as I've said, we're going to do the world icons for 2024, and we are doing the first 7 icons. Now listen, years before COVID, that's not so many years ago, the learners, the matriculants in tourism had to know 42 icons. 42. After or during COVID-19, they reduced it. And these days it's 13 one year. And then last year they had to know 14. But eventually it will come to the same 42, but it's broken up into different sections now. Now, you have probably received the 13 icons for this year. But the order in which I am going to do it will slightly differ from the order that you have received it in. And there's a specific reason why I've changed the order of it. And you will discover that as we go along. Now, these are the 13 icons that you must know. And you see there, Corcodova, Sydney Opera House, the pyramids, Uluru, the Colosseum, Pisa, the Vatican City, and then Sphinx and the Great Wall of China, and whatever. But we're going to do it in detail. As I've said, there's 13 icons in 2024, and we will cover 7 today. Now you will see here stands 40 out of 200. The paper is 200 marks and 3 hours. And I've counted the average mark for the icons is 40 marks. Now you need 60 to pass. So if you know the icons very, very well, and the icons is usually tested in question 4, but also it is also covered in question number 1 in the short questions. I'm going to show you very, very shortly how it is tested in the short questions. Now, if you count up, if you add up all that single marks in the short questions and you add up question 4, then you will come to 40 marks. And it is a big amount of marks if you don't study the work thoroughly. Then you're going to lose out on it. So I ask you, go through it thoroughly, and then you will get good marks in your exam. Then you don't need to fear about 4 that you're not going to pass. You will pass. Good. Let us go a little bit further. I just want to see, I want to test you. I want you to test yourself. November 2018. In that paper, they asked the following questions based on icons. See if you can find the correct answer. This was in question 1. The difference between an attraction and an icon. And I specifically chose this because I want to show you a technique. You know, what happens when we mark, then we so often see that learners leave out in question 1, some of that short questions. They don't answer it. They leave it blank. Please, please do not leave any open spaces in tourism. If you don't know the answer, guess. Guess. Here we have a question, and you can see there's 4 different options, which means that each option is 25%. You've got a 25% probability that you will guess it right if you don't know the answer. Take the chance. Instead of not filling it in. If you don't fill it in, you have a 0 chance of getting a mark for the question. Okay, so now we go through it, and if you don't know the answers, work then through the process of elimination. It means look in the answers, the alternative answers, or all the answers, and see what makes you feel uncomfortable, and then you delete that until only one remains. An attraction is a feature tourists want to experience, while an icon is a symbol representing a destination. It sounds good, isn't it? So I will leave that one on its own. B, an attraction is a symbol attracting tourists, while an icon is an attraction that attracts cultural tourists only. No, nonsense. An icon attracts all types of tourists or different types of tourists. It is not built or it is not there to attract only certain types of tourists. Then, so this one is definitely a no-no. So I will just delete through it. C, an attraction represents a destination while an icon contributes to the economy of the country. Yeah, it represents a destination. Okay, I will accept that. But the second part of the question it doesn't go down too well. Whilst, oh my word, there I've touched my keypad and there I've encircled now the correct answer. But what I want to say is that even if you go now to D, an attraction is a new experience at a destination, while an icon is an existing attraction at a destination. That is also not right. So the correct answer is A. An attraction is a feature tourists want to experience, while an icon is a symbol representing a destination. Let's go a little bit further. Here is another question taken out of, I think this is the 2021 paper. The Berlin Wall was built to divide this country into East and West, or West and East. It was a dividing line built by people. Now, Berlin tells you, if you know, I don't know if you played with an atlas yet, where you have a map book, and then you try to find different cities and towns. What we did, and that was when I was still in primary school, we would take out this map book, and then I will look for a name of a city, and then I will say, who can find the city? It starts with the letter T. And then we time each other to see who can find it the quickest. And we just played. It was just a nice way. But I grew up in the time of books, not the time of cell phones. So I don't know if you will still use a map book today. But the Berlin Wall, Berlin is, of course, a city in Germany. So it is the capital currently of Germany. And I don't know if you watch soccer. There's a big team that is there in Germany. I just can't think about the name of the team now, but it's a soccer team. And I know you're shouting out the name, but that should give you a clue of which country we're talking about here. And here we see it is Germany. It is not Italy. It is not Brazil. It is not China. The capital of Germany is Berlin. And we're going to speak about that later on. But do you see how where I try to find my answers out of a vast array of general knowledge? I apply the general knowledge. I go look for soccer teams. I go look for this. I go look for that. And that will give me a clue as to what the correct answer is. Let us go to the next one, 1.1.7. The statue of Christ the Redeemer and the Vatican City have the following in common. Both have religious significance. Both are statues made of cement. Crap, because Vatican City is a city. It is not a statue. Are symbols of independence. None of these two icons has got to do anything with politics. So, crap. Have natural significance. No. Christ the Redeemer was built by men. The Vatican City was built by people. Natural means created by God. It grew there on its own, or it is there due to the creation, or whatever you want to believe it in. But anything else is man-made, and therefore D does not fit. So what is the only answer? Christ the Redeemer is about Jesus Christ. It's a statue of Jesus Christ. Even if you are not a Christian, you will have heard about Jesus, and you know that this is religious. That is a religious sign. And then the Vatican City, if you know your icons, you will know the Vatican City is where the head of the Roman Catholic Church is seated. And the head of the Roman Catholic Church is the Pope. And that, the Roman Catholic Church, is a Christian church. So Christian Christ, it has religious significance. So that is the correct answer. Okay, let us just go through this here. I've put this on here before we're going to start with the icons. Just be patient. We will get there now. Factors contributing to the success of a tourist attraction. Now, they will never ask you more than 3 facts, to state more than 3 facts. Now, if you are like me, lazy, then you will choose the shortest of these answers. And that is for all the questions that you get. If you go and study, you know, there are some words, some stuff that you can use repeatedly. But always, don't go study everything. Don't go clutter your mind. Leave space. Your mind is like a hard drive of a computer. Of the space, the RAM there in the memory of your cell phone. You can't clutter it. Otherwise you won't have space. So, factors contributing to the success of a tourist attraction, I tell you today, they won't ask you more than 3. So what will I do? I will go and find the 3 shortest ones, and I will learn only that 3. Now look here. Positive experience for visitors. It means the visitors are happy to see it. They stand in awe. They, wow, you know. That is, if it's positive, they will go back every time. Safety and crime prevention. Now, that is for me an easy one to remember. Why? I stay in Cape Town. And you know the crime rate in Cape Town? Oh my word, we read about it every day. So, that is an easy one for me to remember. And then the shortest one is a 2-word one, universal access. Do you see it here? It means it is accessible by all people. Whether you are disabled, you should still be able to visit the icon or the attraction. If the attraction can apply all these 3 things that and all the other things there, then I know that the attraction is successful. Characteristics of a successful attraction. How do we know that the attraction is successful? Now, again, I look for the shortest ones. And the shortest one here is repeat visits. It means that people go back again and again and again. Like some of these icons, I did not visit it once, but I visited it more than once because it is so beautiful. I wanted to go back. That Vatican City, the St. Peter's Cathedral, Basilica, I went there, I don't know how many times, and I spent there days on end because the place is so big, it is so beautiful that you want to go and see it again. That's number 1. Second one, it has a positive impact on the local community. You don't need to say an environment. That you can use as a second answer, third answer. And then this one is very easy to remember. It's long, but it's easy to remember. It means that they received more people than what they thought would come to the attraction for a year. For the year, they thought 10,000 people would come. And then when they counted at the end of the year, they discovered that 15,000 people visited this attraction. So what do they say now? They take out champagne. They have a small celebration because they received more people than what they thought would come and visit the attraction. I've used this just to explain to you that please do not try to absorb everything. Look at the shortest answers and remember that. And then you use that in the exam. Good, now let us start with the 7 icons. I hope I didn't bore you, but that you have already learned something very important for this presentation and in this video. Let us go now. This is the first icon. Can you see what icon this is? I give you, you should have seen it already. Yes, of course, it is just look here, the name of it is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Now, I want to say to you something very important that you must remember. Make a note. You must know the full name of your icons. In the exam, when we mark the end of the year, last year, if you don't write down the full name of the icon, you won't get a mark. You can't say Pisa. You can't say Tower of Pisa. It must be the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It must be, otherwise you're not going to get the mark. So that's why I said right in the beginning, you can't walk out early out of the exam room. You must use your full 3 hours. Write out, spend time. Remember, this is so important. Let me just say something else here, and I hope you will remember this. Next year, January, when you go for any job interview, if you didn't apply to go to a university or to a college, or you're not going to study further, the first thing the people will ask you is a matric certificate. They won't ask you for your grade 11 report and your grade 10 report. And the best time, the only time that you basically have to write something on that matric result, that matric report, that matric certificate that you're going to get is now, in the next few weeks. And what you write there will follow you. That what is printed on, they will follow you the rest of your life. When I was 50 years old, I went back to the university to go further my studies. And you know what they did? The first thing that they asked me is, where's your matric certificate? My goodness me. I wrote matric in 1977. I tried to find this thing. I couldn't. I think I had some mice in the house or whatever, but something ate half of it away. So I had to go back to the department and then ask them, paid money so that they can give me a reprint of it. And then I saw my result of 1977. Oh, and I tried to hide it away so that my children don't see it, because it would, it was not a good example for them. But in any case, university accepted it and I could go to university to go and study. But look how long after that it followed me. Okay, so the Leaning Tower of Pisa, please remember, you must write down the full name. Secondly, the city is Pisa. It is part of the name. And then the country that it is in Italy. Yeah, I'm going to show you later on where's Italy. And Italy, of course, you know by now, they are going to ask you on what continent. So you must know the icon, you must know the name, you must know the city in which it is, you must know the country, and you must know the continent. That's why I've got all 4 here. And of course, it is Europe. It is in Europe. And here is some information on it. Why is it an icon? Because of its beauty. It is one of the most recognizable structures in the world. They're going to ask you this. Why is the Leaning Tower of Pisa an icon? And then you must say it's one of the most recognizable structures of the world. It is man-made. And you can see here, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You have it there on your notes. What does UNESCO stand for? It stands for United Nations Education, Science and Culture Organization. And look here, they're going to ask you what type of tourist will visit the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And I'm telling you today, I'm giving you a tip because I want you to pass. That's number one. Secondly, I want you to do good. If you do not know what type of tourist, you write down cultural tourist. Do you see the word here, cultural tourist? You write down cultural tourists, because cultural tourists are tourists that will go and see anything. It sounds strange. Then if you want to be smart or they ask you more than one, then it can be leisure tourists or whatever. But this is another one. Those that are interested in history, because most of the icons speaks about the history of the humankind. So here the tower, or a campanile, is one of 3 historic buildings on this area, this grassy area. And it's grassy because it is an area of soft soil. They made a big mistake of building this tower here. Even when they started to build it, it already started to lean. But then it stopped. It sank a little bit where it could find a more solid foundation. Now, it was built in 1173 and was completed in around 1350, which gives you roughly 200 years that it took them to build this thing. Now, if you think that is, uh, it is a long time. Remember, we're talking here about what is 1173? Is how many years ago? 800 years? 827, 850 years ago that they built this. Remember, our oldest building in South Africa is the Castle of Good Hope there in Cape Town. I hope that you've all seen it. And that was built in 1680. It was built, the Castle of Good Hope was built almost 500 years later than the Tower of Pisa. And look how the Tower of Pisa look in comparison to how our castle look. I just can go back here, then you will see, look at how beautiful this thing is. 8 stories high. When the castle was built, that tower in the castle was the highest building in the whole of Cape Town. And that was 200 years after this tower was built, the Tower of Pisa was built. Isn't it incredible what these people did? And they built it with marble. And it's a 8-story building. Okay, I'm not going to speak too much more about this. But please, important, you must know that it is recognizable. It's the type of building that makes it recognizable. My word, look at this photo here. Do you see this gentleman here? That is me. And these are my 2 sons, and this is my wife. And we went here, I think it was 2007. We went to go visit the Vatican City, because that is where this is. This is the St. Peter's Basilica. And you can see we are all dressed up because we went there in December. Now, you might think December, but December's then so hot. But remember, the Vatican City is in the northern hemisphere, so they had their winter. And we experienced, because this voyage that we did, this trip that we did, took us to Istanbul in Turkey, and when we came there, it was snowing, so we experienced snow as well. But this was a very important day, because on this day it was Old Year's Eve. That means it was the 31st of December of that year, and the Pope, it was scheduled that the Pope will address the world on that night from this place here. And that's why when you go there, to see this photo, you will see that there's very little people here. Although there are, at other times, there's thousands of people. They were just cleaning out the area, so that they could set up their stuff for the evening's address of the Pope. And just when the people's walking and there was police coming, whatever, I said to my family, come, let us quickly take a photo. And I asked somebody to take a photo of us. Anyhow, so this is the whole basilica. That photo was taken about here somewhere we stood. And here we see the basilica, the church. It is the biggest Christian church in the world. If you go in here, there are 3 doors here in front. Allow me just to explain to you 3 minutes. I will just take about 3 minutes to explain this to you. So here in front, there are a number of doors, but the basilica is an ongoing, they are still improving and whatever, building on it. This whole area here, by the way, is the Vatican City. This whole area stretches till about there. It just makes the circle a little bit bigger. About 1,500 people or whatever stays in here. The head of this place is the Pope. I will give more detail. I just want to explain to you something on this photo before we go further. This thing here, this dome, has been built by Michelangelo. And no other building in Rome must be higher than this, so that you can stand at any place in Rome, then you can see the basilica. So this is the highest point in Rome, the city of Rome. And this building, the basilica, is, if you go into the door and into it, then you will see a number of absolutely fantastic stuff. The one thing that you will see is the ceiling of it is built with 42 tons of gold. Unbelievable. 42 tons of gold. It's panels of gold. I thought next time I must take something with and shoot a piece off, and without somebody knowing, somebody seeing me, and then bring it back home. That is evil. But anyhow, it is a an astonishing place. So please, I want to ask you, please go and visit this place at least once in your lifetime. The biggest sculpture, the Pieta, the pity of Mary with Jesus in her lap, the dead Jesus in her lap, is found in this place. Also made by, created by Michelangelo. So it is a place of a lot of artwork, and people come here for this. And this area here, this is the, you will see now, when the Pope comes, and he will probably, I think he will stand here and then he will speak to the people. And in here can fit 400,000 people. And then the street here, they fill this with people as well. That evening, they said that there were over 1 million people coming to listen to the Pope. And you see here in the middle, there's an obelisk. This comes from Egypt. And this spot here commemorates where Peter, the disciple of Jesus, was crucified. He was crucified upside down, and then they buried him on this spot here before this cathedral was built. And this dome and the pulpit, which is underneath it, inside of the church, underneath there is the burial place of Peter. And you can go there and go downward stairs, and then you can see his burial place there. It is a magnificent, magnificent place. You can see here there are lines there going out in all the directions, because they say that Christianity started to spread from this point where Peter died in all directions of the world. And here are some cardinals and important people in the Catholic Church that stands here. These little things here is actually statues of them. And they all look to this point here. Where Peter was crucified. Please go and visit the place. Okay, so let us go now. The name is the Vatican City. That's the whole area. With the highlight, of course, the St. Peter's Basilica. The city is Rome. The country is Italy. And the continent is, of course, Italy. You should know now, Italy is in Europe. So that's in Europe. And then let us look at some of the notes. It's the Vatican City is also known as the Vatican. It's the world's smallest independent city-state. That means that if you go and visit it, you go actually to a different country. You're in Rome, you're in Italy, but when you go to the Vatican, you actually leave Rome and Italy and to enter into the Vatican. The ruler of Rome, the president or whatever they have at the moment, has no control over the Vatican City. The leader of the Vatican City is the Pope. And to actually, they are issued, all the workers there, they are issued with a passport that they are living in the Vatican City. They don't wear an Italian passport. So the Vatican City, the city itself was established in 1929, but the basilica was built in the 15th century. That means in the 1400s it was built. And it contains various artworks. And then we have St. Peter's Square. That is the square that I showed you, where the 400,000 people stand. And you see is every Easter Sunday, then there are 400,000 people there that comes from across the world to come and see it. We were just lucky that the Pope decided to have his address on the 31st of December of that year. And therefore we did not participate in it because we're not Catholic. But we were at least in Rome, in Vatican City, when that happened. And then the Vatican Museum. Please go and visit this. There are two great museums in Europe. The one is the Louvre, where the Mona Lisa is kept. And then, of course, the Vatican Museum is in the Vatican City. I went in there, and I'm telling you, it was, I can't explain it. You must go. The Sistine Chapel is part of this museum. Please go read up on the Sistine Chapel. I'm not going to tell you about it. The attraction is man-made. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And then guess what type of tourist will come and visit it? I've told you, a cultural tourist will come and visit it. And of course, religious pilgrims. Because that is what we saw when we went there. Thousands of people, and they all speak different languages because they come from across the world to come and visit the Vatican. Then the Swiss Guard, they are the Pope's bodyguards. I don't have a photo of them, but please go check on the internet and you ask for the Swiss Guard, and you will see the different colors of how they look. You know, they look like clowns. I've got no other way to explain it. They look like clowns, but they are highly trained, and they are all from Switzerland. So the Swiss Guard protects the Pope. Let's go to the next one. The next one, where am I standing here? Was a friend of mine. This was on another trip. Do you see this building here? I'm sure that you recognized it immediately. Did you write it down? I'm going to go now and show it to you. It's of course the Colosseum. You see, it it has been built 2,000 years ago. Can you believe it? 2,000 years ago, and it's higher than our castle of Good Hope in Cape Town. Look there, and it is like it is an arena, and it's like the stadium in Cape Town, and it serves the same purpose that the stadium did. There was entertainment in this arena, in this stadium, and it could take 50,000 people. Our stadium in Cape Town can take 55,000 people. I hope that you've all visited the Cape Town Stadium. But can you imagine how it was 2,000 years ago in this stadium here that you see here before you? You know, the Romans were so great with building. They built all of these. This is actually panels like Weiberkriet. It's panels that they built on various places. Then they brought it here to Rome and they all fitted it together to form the stadium. Brilliant, eh? And that is why it did not take too long for them to complete the stadium. And in the stadium, they had entertainment. And you know what was nice? It was free to go in there. And you could see gladiators. Do you know gladiators? They fought in here with each other, and they fought till death at times with swords and whatever. Now today, if you go there, you will see people dressed up as gladiators. You see, there's one of them standing, I think is somewhere. If you look closely at the picture, you will see gladiators standing. They dress like gladiators of old, and then they charge you to take a picture with them. Look here, look here, look here. Here's an excellent example. There's a gladiator standing with a man next to him, and somebody's taking a photo, and here's another gladiator. And he will, of course, tell you that if you want a photo with him as well, then you must pay him. So you pay a euro or two for them to have a photo with them, and that's how they make their money. But this is the Colosseum. And if you've heard about people fighting lions and other animals, it all happened in here. There's a beautiful movie of Russell Crowe in the main role about these gladiators. Please go and watch it. Good. So this is the Colosseum. And then, of course, the city is in Rome. That is old Rome there behind you. And then the country is, of course, Italy. And Italy is on what continent? You should know it by now. It is on the European continent, so it's in Europe. Good. Why is it an icon? It's the center of Rome. It's right in the middle. I remember we drove with a bus past it in the night when we came to Rome. We landed at the airport and then took a bus in that takes you to the hotel. And when we approached it, it was our first experience of this. It was lit. You know, it was there were different lights shining on it, and it looked out of this world. It's man-made, and who will visit it again? Cultural tourists, yes, and tourists interested in history. It was constructed 70 to 72 after Christ, and it was known as the Flavian Amphitheater, and it could take over 50,000 people. And there you could watch fights with wild animals, people being tortured, execution of prisoners. Would you like to see that? Nah, man, not me. But anyhow, that you could go and see the slaves and Christians that was crucified because they were and killed there because the Romans did not like their religion. And fights between gladiators all took place there. It was a place of big entertainment. And through the years, it has been damaged by storms, and that is why it looks like that. Lightning, fires, earthquakes. But after 500 years, the Colosseum was not used anymore, and people started, just like these Capetonians, they started to take stuff away from there and put it in their houses. It is so typical of humans. Okay, it's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but now you see something else here. It's one of the new wonders of the world, the seven wonders of the world. Make a note of that. I'm almost sure that that is going to come in the exam. Hey, it's again me and my wife. Oh my word, where are we standing here? Did you write it down? It's short, eh? Um, and here we see gondolas, bridges, water streets. This is the Grand Canal. Look at the buildings, and you know that you are in Venice, the city of love. Oh my word, no cars. You can make use of boats. There's water taxis. We rode in one of the water taxis, but predominantly you walk. Um, we stayed in New Venice, that is outside of the old city, and then we took a train in, and then we walked from the land side of Venice right through over the bridges and the canals and whatever to the sea, the open sea on the other side, St. Mark's Plain. Oh man, I'm telling you, study hard, study hard. More important, girls, get the right boyfriend, man. Get the right guy that you will know that study and um uh, that will earn a nice income, you know, and then you go with him, go visit these cities. This is the place where men, young men, usually propose to girls. Yeah, it happens. It's beautiful. Remember, your life starts now in a few months' time, 2, 3 months' time. Your real life starts. This school and whatever, that's for children. Now you're going to enter the adult world. And you know what? You are the sum of the decisions that you make. So make the right decision because you've still got 40, 50, 60 years to live. You make a mistake now, the wrong decision, it will follow you for 40 to 50 years. Make the right decision when you choose a life partner as well. Please, I beg of you, please do so. I speak to you like a parent now. Okay, let's go. The city is Venice, and the country is, of course, Italy. And the continent, I hear you shouting out, it is Europe. So that is easy to understand. Let us look at Venice. It's a city built on 118 small islands, linked by canals and bridges, and it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Believe me, it is the truth. These narrow streets, because it was built in a time when people walked, there was no cars and whatever. There was not even horses in that area used. I don't think so. But in any case, it was beautiful. So other names for it is the Queen of the Adriatic. It is a city of canals, the floating city because the city is sinking, so you better go quick. It's a city of romance, the city of bridges. It is man-made, and guess who will visit it? Cultural tourists. Are you starting to believe me now? And also tourists interested in art and its history. They will go there. They take you there to glass blowing factories, where they blow different types of ornaments and whatever there out of glass, and then they try to sell it to you at the most exuberant prices, and you pay because you want to take something of Venice home. Yeah, so cars are banned, and there's water buses and water taxis and gondolas. Flooding is always a serious threat. So if they tell you what is the most dangerous threat for Venice, then it is flooding. And of course, it's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Means it is protected by the United Nations. I must start to get finished. Now we get to the third last one. This is, of course, most beautiful part of the world. It is the Black Forest. and the Black Forest is in the country is Germany, and then the continent is Europe. And here we have what type of attraction is it? It's a natural attraction, and of all the attractions that we did now, this is the only natural one. Okay, and of course, you see the cultural tourists that will, and of course now nature lovers gets added to that, that will visit the area. The Black Forest is known for its beautiful scenery, consists of mountains covered with pine and fir trees and valleys and lakes and mineral springs and picturesque villages. The region is 200 kilometers long. I thought it stretches from here till about, what is it, Riversdale? From Somerset West, that's where I stay. So it's quite a long drive, but you drive through this beautiful, beautiful area. But let me just tell you this. We've got just so beautiful areas here in our country. Okay, but they of course promote now this area so that we can go and visit it. It's 200 kilometers long and 60 kilometers wide. It's in the state of Baden-Württemberg and is in southwestern Germany on the border with France and with Switzerland. And what do you get here? Cuckoo clocks. Do you know what's a cuckoo? Shoo, I don't know if I have time to explain to you a cuckoo. A cuckoo is a dove. It's bigger than a pigeon. Doves that we get here, it's a bigger dove. And it's a very lazy bird, so it doesn't build a nest. And when it wants to lay eggs, it could check out where is the pigeon's nest, and then it go lay the hen will go and lay their eggs next to the pigeon's eggs, and the pigeon mom will come and it will what do they say? Concubate. It will care for the eggs until the babies break out. The small little birds break out, and then she will feed it. But because the cuckoo is a bigger bird, it will kick out the pigeons, the small little pigeons, out of the nest, and the cuckoo will then rule in the nest, and the mummy bird will now bring this big child of her all the food that she can get. And yeah, somebody explained that is how we must protect our hearts from these cuckoos that come out with evil minds, evil ideas, and then it takes over our hearts. Please be careful of that. It is Germany's most popular tourist region, and they make their cherry snaps. You know, cherries that you find on cakes. It grows on trees, and it grows there, and they make a snaps of it, the Germans. And then, of course, it is also famous for the Black Forest cakes. I often see it. I can't eat it anymore. But I'm sure when you see this Black Forest, different layers with cream in between it. Very, very nice. Okay, so what do we do there? It's hiking and walking and mountain biking and skiing and riding on the rivers, and then, of course, all the type of freshwater sport that you can think of. And here we have the second last icon, and this is the Berlin Wall. Do you know this? Do you see the Berlin Wall? Do you see the graffiti? People did not like it, and that's why they painted and they desecrated it. They try to ruin it. They try to make it as ugly as possible because the wall symbolizes something ugly. It divided people. It was a physical thing that divided people into two areas, where in one area there was big poverty and in the other area there was great wealth. And because the one side had, of course, a democracy, capitalism, and the other side had communism, that meant that everything went to everybody and it was extremely poor. And then in 1989, the people came and they broke down this wall because it divided the people into two. You know, please don't write this in the exam. There's two pieces of this wall in Cape Town. See if you can find it one day. They brought two pieces here to Cape Town because they say that South Africa also had a wall like that that divided people, but it was not a physical wall. It was a wall designed with laws, and that wall was called apartheid. That is why. So by the St. George's Cathedral, on the opposite side of it, you will see a piece of this Berlin Wall. Go and visit it. But please, The Berlin Wall was not in Cape Town. Oh my goodness. Last year we did the Eiffel Tower, and one of the learners said, when it was asked, where's the Eiffel Tower? He said, it's on Robben Island. Please, man, don't make us laugh like that in the exam room when we mark the marking room. The Berlin Wall is in Berlin. It divided people. There's the city is Berlin. The country is Germany, and Germany is also in Europe. Okay, so here is the history of it. It's built in 1961, and it divided Berlin, the capital of Germany at the time, into two parts: West and East German, West and East Berlin. At the end of the World War, the capital of Germany, Berlin, was divided into four portions, and France, England, and America decided to combine the area and give it back to the Germans, and the Germans called it West Berlin. The Russians, who had the fourth piece of it, refused to give it back to the Germans, and they built this wall to contain the people inside of the city. It's man-made, and of course, yeah, I'm not going to say it to you, but you know what type of tourists will come and visit it. It was, and here you can read about this, and then of course in 1989 it was broken up, and now we come to the final icon, and that is the what is this? It's also a wall. Do you know what wall is this? Okay, it is of course the Great Wall of China. Look at the difference between it. Did you see how thin the other wall was? But in this wall, the people can walk. On this wall, and walk. You can see no graffiti, because this wall was built years ago when people didn't know about painting things or yeah, doing graffiti. And there were always soldiers standing here in this. You see these gaps here. Soldiers standing there, and they protected China from people that wanted to invade the country. So you couldn't get near to the wall, you would have been killed. And there you see towers, and you know, inside of this wall, there are rooms where people could stay, and they lived there inside of the wall. Go and research some more. The country is, of course, China, and the continent is Asia. Let us look at some of the information. It's one of the 7 wonders, so we have 2 7 wonders in our group of 7 icons. It's man-made. I'm not going to tell you again what kind of tourists will come and visit it. It is the cultural tourists and people interested in history. Okay, the Great Wall, it dates back to 2,000 years ago. So it was built in the time of Jesus Christ. And the Great Wall was built between the 5th century before Christ, even before Christ, and the 16th century after Christ. So it took, you can work out there how many years it took to build it. And most of the Great Wall still exists today. It was built during 1368 and 1644. And this is what I want to show you. It stretches for 8,850 kilometers. And I thought, how can I explain this to you? You know, it is like driving to Joburg and back 4 times, because Joburg is 1,200 kilometers far. So it's 1,200 kilometers up. You just arrive there, then you drive back 1,200 kilometers, then you go up again, and then you go down again, and you do that cycle 4 times. It will take you days, and you'll be absolutely blown out, tired because of that. So big is this thing. It will stretch from here, from Cape Town, till, I think, past Zimbabwe. So long was this wall. And you know, it was built by soldiers. It was built by peasants, that is workers, farm workers, prisoners. And you know, in the process of building this wall, more than 1 million people died. And that is why it is called the longest cemetery on earth. Underline that. Okay. Good. Let me just summarize now. I don't know if I've got any more time left, but let me just summarize. Now, we have Italy. Do you see Italy here? That is Italy. This is Europe, the continent of Europe. And in Italy, we had the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You see it there at the bottom. Then we had the Colosseum. Then we had the Vatican City, and then we had Venice. So 4 of the icons is in Italy, and Italy is in Europe. So I want you to remember 4 icons in Italy: Leaning Tower of Pisa, the Colosseum, Vatican City, and Venice. And there you can see. And you know, this is the Adriatic Sea. That's why they say it is I don't know what of the Adriatic Sea. I told you what it is. But when we were here, we drove with a bullet train to Rome. 300 kilometers per hour. That's as fast as a Grand Prix car. We rode on that train. You must go do it. It's actually fantastic. We actually went to Monaco and then we took a bus to Venice. And we drove through the mountains, passes. Beautiful, beautiful area. And then we took the bullet train down to Rome. You also want to go and do it? Say yes, I want to go do it. Remember what I told you early in the video. Okay, now let us go to the next area is Germany, and you can see Germany is right on top of Italy here. It doesn't border on Italy, but it's north of Italy, and then there we had southwest. You see, Switzerland, France, the Black Forest, and then we had in Berlin we had the Berlin Wall. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 7 icons, and the 7th icon, I put it in just because we have 2 walls in our 13. So that's the 7th icon is here in Asia. This is Asia here, and there is Europe over there. So the 7th icon is the Great Wall of China, and there it is. You actually go to Beijing, and then you can go and visit the Great Wall of China from there. And that is in Asia. Just to show you the difference, look at this. The Great Wall of China, and look at the wall in Germany, in Berlin, in Germany. The Berlin Wall. Do you see the difference between the 2 walls? I just want you to note the graffiti. They will always show that to you, then you know Berlin Wall. Okay, right. The second video will deal with icons 8 to 13, and then I will also show you how it is tested in the matric exam. We will go and do more of the longer types of questions. Thank you for listening to me. See you in the next video.